Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to another plan with me video. This time I'm going to show you how to use my daily planner. So what I'm doing here is just circling one of the ombre effects in my planner, and I'm going to just copy it, and then I'm going to paste it onto my planner. And all these areas that I have these light gray outlines, I just kind of want to mimic that but add some color. So using the camera tool, I've tapped on the image I just inserted, and I'm just going to use the arrows to get it more precise, zoom in a little bit so that I can get it exactly how I want it. If you prefer a horizontal ombre, you can always rotate this and then adjust it. Do it however you like. And the next thing that I'm going to do is a little hack that I didn't show you guys, but if you've watched my other videos, usually I will take the lasso tool and just circle like a white part of the page and then take a screenshot and then copy and paste that onto the page, and then go back to the little photo tool and click on the white image I just pasted and then adjust it using these arrows. But I've actually gone in and saved that as an element just to save me a little bit of time, and now I can use that whenever. So I've resized this just to place it pretty evenly so that I have like a nice little border around the edge. And then once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go in and add the text. Alright, so I'm just writing all of the meal names here, and I'm going to center align the text here and size it how I want it. Okay, now that I'm happy with that, I've just made sure that I have handwriting, images, and text boxes all selected. I'm just going to copy all of that and I'm going to paste it into each spot so it'll be perfectly sized and spaced how I want it. Next, I'm just going to go in and change these so that they have the proper word. So I'm just going to write those in there, and I'll speed through this real quick. And I really like the way that that's looking, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for my priorities for the day. But I think I'm going to use a different ombre effect. Alright, so I've just selected the color I like, paste it in there, and I'm going to go up to the little picture tool and I'm going to resize this and get it just how I need it to fit. Just the same as we did before, but obviously with a different color. And since you're familiar with this process at this point, I will speed through this. Alright, and I've just changed this to say today's priorities, just because I feel like that's more fitting. You can of course adjust this to be focused on whatever you want it to be, so it's completely up to you. Okay, and now I want to do my heading. So because the word September plus the dates is a little bit long, I'm just going to copy both of these lettering boxes that I have, and I'm going to resize them together so that they are the same size as each other, and I'm just going to end up putting them together. Just remember that because I used the element, the like white background there, that if I were to circle and have images on, it would also select that white background. So that's why I've just kind of moved it down to an area that I don't have that, and I'm just going to select just the small corner where it's not overlapping the white so that I can copy and paste it. Additionally, I could have just taken the camera or the photo tool and just like tapped on it and copy and pasted it from there as well. But here I'm just resizing it, making sure that it all fits together. I'm just going to take this grouping that I have and I'm going to move it into the center maybe off just a little bit because I just remembered that I also have to add the date in there and not just September. So I'm just gonna tap on one of these, copy it and paste it. And I want to keep the order of color pretty consistent, so I'm just gonna tap on that and crop it. And I want to crop out the yellow because I know the other one ends on yellow. And so I'm just gonna use that. And then we're in good shape. I can just kind of rotate it around if I want to, or I do want it to start with red so that it stays in order. And I'm just going to double check that that sizing is consistent. It looks pretty good to me. So I'm just going to move it over. Alright, so here I'm just adding a text box, and I'm going to try to size it to get it to fit in here pretty nicely. It'll just help with me making sure that every letter that I place in here is actually in line and that it has a good spacing. Basically, everything looks placed perfectly. So I'm just gonna come in here and I'm gonna make sure this is center aligned so that it is central to that box. And I'm going to toggle off handwriting and images and just leave text boxes on. And then I'm going to copy and paste the text boxes in here. So I'm just going to go through and paste all of these where they need to go, and then I'll be back in a second. Alright, and now of course I have to go through and change all of these so that they spell September and today's date. So I'm just going to edit each of these letters. And I think you can understand that, so I'm just double tapping on the text and swapping out each individual letter. So I'm just gonna zoom through this. I'm realizing here that the M is not gonna fit, so I'm gonna run into an issue. So I'm just gonna go through and change all of these letters still, and then I'll address it all in the end. Alright, so now that that is all done, I'm just gonna make sure that it's just text boxes that are on. I'm gonna select all of these, and then I'm just gonna resize them. So had I been thinking in advance, I could have just made the text size appropriate here, but unfortunately I didn't realize that, but in the future I will remember, or at least try to remember that. And now I'm just going to do my best to visually place these in the right spot, so all that work that I did before is really pointless, but you know, trial and error. And that's the beauty of using a digital planner, is when you make mistakes like this, you can just easily fix it. Or with like a real planner, you sometimes have to end up gluing pages together or covering things up. So it's one of my favorite things about digital planning. Alright, so I'm just going to take some of these cute flowers. I really like them. And I had to obviously make sure that images was toggled on for this. And now I'm just going to come back, make sure that there's nothing else that I want, and just kind of place them around the heading here, around the date. Okay, so now I'm selecting all 4 of these, and I'll show you why in just a second. Basically, I'm not using all of these sticky notes, but I'm going to crop them and get creative with them on my own. So I wanted each color, so I'm just going to go in here and crop this into a rectangle, and I'm going to do that same process for all 4 colors. This is actually one of my favorite things to do, is to take an existing sticker and then just crop it into something. I often do this with some of my transparent washi tape as well, or like the paintbrush strokes, just to give things a little bit more texture, but also just to let me sort of be creative with it. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to end up using each of these rectangles to block out my entire day. So in the center here I have a whole hourly or half hourly layout, and on really busy days I do prefer to use this. And also if you have like time blocking that you use in your calendar, I think this is a really nice way to visualize And if that changes from, day to day, maybe every Monday is the same or every Tuesday is the same, you can always just do this once per day of the week. And you can always copy and paste that layout if you have a set schedule that you like to stick to on certain days of the week. I generally like to do this when I have really busy days so I can block out windows of time, so I'm not necessarily going to put everything on my to-do list into a 30-minute slot, though occasionally that does relieve my anxiety. But what I prefer to do, like I said, is just block out a time and say, I'm only doing this from this time, and it helps me to visualize how much time I actually have to get the things on my to-do list done, as opposed to the other things I want to schedule in my day, like sleeping and cooking or working out, other things that are a priority, or events or something that I have going on. So this big green block here is the one I was going to use for my work window, and then I was going to have a Zoom call that I was going to use for the yellow one. But as you know, whatever gets pasted first in Goodnotes has to stay in that order. So sometimes you just have to take something and cut it and then repaste it so that it'll show up on top. And that's what I'm doing here with the yellow, because every time that I would tap the green, the yellow would just go behind the green, because the green was the top layer according to Goodnotes. All right, and now it's time to add the text. So for me, I like to stay consistent and use the same font that I used in my planner. This is my cheeky Collegian font. If you're interested in it, it is available on my Etsy shop. I will leave a link for it down below, as well as to this entire sticker set. This is my Autumn Leaves sticker set, and I just really love the palette for this time of year. Additionally, for aesthetics, I really like to space out my letters, so you can just add spaces in between. You can do that by using the keyboard, of course, or by drawing a line in between each letter, just a straight line with your Apple Pencil. So now that I'm happy with all of the text, I'm just going to draw one straight line through everything, and you'll see why in a second. So I have a little bit of spot here, so I'm going to take this stroke eraser, and I'm just going to go in and erase that really quickly, and then I'm going to toggle this back to the precision eraser. I highly recommend using this tool. I found it to be really useful in a lot of things, and this was only in one of the more recent updates of Goodnotes, so if you don't have access to that, make sure that your app is up to date. But what I'm going to do now is just go in and use the precision eraser to erase all of this one white line. So then I know everything is perfectly aligned, all the same size, and I'm just going to erase away the bits that I don't need. So what I'm doing here is just going back to one of my weekly layouts where I really liked what I did with the calendar in the right corner, and I just copied all of the text and images that were there, and I'm just pasting it over top of my calendar now. I just really like this rainbow. I think it's super cute. So now I'm going to go, I really like this notes piece, so I'm going to paste this in here. And I'm just going to resize this so that it'll fit right here. For me, I think this is nice because you can kind of put whatever you want here. For me, it's a daily reminder to do some journaling, so I can just kind of zoom in and put that there. I'm adding the white element that I had saved. I'll share more about that in another video in case it didn't make sense when I just verbalized it. And I'll just kind of walk you through how I did that. But I'm just placing this piece here and making sure that all the little white dots are covered up. I don't particularly want them there. So I've just decided I want to track my water consumption here, but I also want to add a little bit of a design element. So I'm going to take these stripes. I'm kind of obsessed with them. I just really love the way that they elevate any of my planner pages. So I'm going to paste this in here, and then I'm going to grab the picture tool and tap on it, and I'm going to rotate it and just size it how I want it. And I didn't want the yellow touching the yellow, so I've just rotated it again. And I like that. I think it looks nice. And I'm noticing that this is a little bit crooked, so I'm just gonna kind of use that picture tool there to straighten it out. And I think to finish things off, I'm just going to copy these brush strokes, and they have a level of transparency to them, so these are one of my favorite things to crop and also place in the blocks, the time blocks, like I did before. Obviously today I decided to use the opaque look, but you can do this as well with the transparent pieces too. And so I'm just going to take these transparent brush strokes and I'm just going to use the arrows on either side to resize them so they look like different brush strokes. And then I'm also going to rotate this as well for that same thing, just to make sure it doesn't look like it's the same thing repeating. I'm actually really quite happy with this, so I'm just going to go in now and start planning out my day. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I've now done a monthly, a weekly, and a daily layout. I'm looking forward to doing these with my different sticker sets as time goes on. Definitely let me know though, are you a weekly planner, a monthly planner, a daily planner? What is your preference? Do you use more than one? I'm really curious to know. I know everyone's got different systems, so definitely let me know in the comments below.